This is a more complex dynamic host configuration protocol, or DHCP lab. Let me warn you, there's some things here that you need to be careful of, and you may be stretching your knowledge. So if you struggle at any point, please make sure that you watch the next video where I show you how to configure this. There's some additional stuff that can bite you, if you like, if you don't know about those. One of the things you will need to do in this lab as a hint is configure either a routing protocol or static routes to make it work. So if you're not sure about that stuff, then watch the next video and I'll show you step by step how to get things configured. In this topology, we've got a router 1, and a switch, but this is a multi-layer switch. In other words, multiple VLANs have been configured on the switch, and it's configured for inter-VLAN routing. That changes things, and that's why it's a little bit more complex than the previous DHCP lab. So just to show you that, on the CLI of the switch 1, enable, show VLAN, and again, always use question mark if you're not sure, brief. That will show me the VLANs configured on the switch. Let me do that again, show VLAN brief. I've just typed the command again, show VLAN brief. You can see that all of these interfaces are configured in VLAN 1, but gigabit 102, that interface there, is in VLAN 10, and gigabit 103 over here is in VLAN 20. Multiple VLANs are configured on the switch, and interfaces have been put into those VLANs. Show IP interface brief, scrolling down, shows me that multiple layer 3 interfaces, or switched virtual interfaces, or SVIs, are configured on the switch. This is a layer 3 switch. So it has multiple IP addresses configured. Show run will show us the running configuration of the switch. There's the command. Scrolling down, we can see once again that gigabit 102 is configured in VLAN 10, gigabit 103 is configured in VLAN 20, and scrolling down, we can see that the switch has IP addresses on VLAN 1, VLAN 10, and VLAN 20. Show IP route shows us that routing is not enabled on the switch. If you see this output, default gateway is not set, it means routing is not enabled on the switch. If we have a look at the router, I'll press enter here. Show IP interface brief. We can see that this IP address is configured on gigabit 000. Hopefully it can ping the switch with IP address 10.1.1.1, which it can. Show run pipe include DHCP shows us that no DHCP configuration has been done. So what you need to do here is configure DHCP pools with the name VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 to allocate IP addresses to devices in VLAN 10 and devices in VLAN 20. So this PC, PC1 is in VLAN 10, this PC, PC2 is in VLAN 20. When your router is configured properly and the PC over here sends a DHCP request, the router will allocate an IP address to PC1 in VLAN 10. And the same thing here, when PC2 requests an IP address, that will be allocated to the PC in VLAN 20. But some hints, don't forget to configure the forwarding of DHCP requests. So you need to do something on the switch so that when it receives the broadcast from the PC, that it forwards it on to the router. Same over here, when the broadcast is received on VLAN 20, it needs to forward that to the router. Otherwise, the router cannot allocate IP addresses. Another gotcha, or another problem, is this router will not allocate IP addresses if it doesn't know about these networks. Show IP route on the router shows that it only knows about directly connected and local networks. It can't ping 10.1.1, and let's see the IP address, actually 10.1.10.1, because it doesn't have a route to that network. And that means that it will not allocate IP addresses to a client in that subnet. The same is going to be true for VLAN 20. So you're going to have to configure either static routes on the router or enable a routing protocol on the router and the switch so that they can exchange routes with one another. The router also has a loopback address. You need to configure a routing protocol so that when pings are sent from this PC, the switch will route that traffic to the router. This is a fairly complicated lab because it covers a lot of technologies. We have got VLANs, we've got a layer 3 switch, we've got DHCP, we've got routing. So just in summary, You've got to configure DHCP pools for VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 on the router. The default gateway for the PCs will be the switch, not the router. The DNS server that's allocated through DHCP will be the router. You need to make sure that the PCs can ping the loopback of the router and the router can ping the PCs. If you struggle or you're not sure about this stuff, please watch the next video where I'll show you how to configure this. Quite a few steps to get this working. But if you're up for the challenge, configure the network. Make sure that you understand this and can configure this network before you go and take the real exam. This will test a lot of your knowledge of CCNA topics.